Hi guys, it's PC Guy here with the news from the week in tech and gaming, and this week we actually have something quite interesting that will take some time to explain. It's Google Stadia. Now, Google Stadia is, to put it simply, a service that allows you to stream your gaming directly from the Google servers without having to have a PC or a console. Now, what's the point of this, you might ask? You can actually game without having to spend a lot, let's say hundreds, in the console or gaming PC, and you can actually get very high-end performance for a subscription cost. Obviously, it's not going to be free. It claims that you can place seamlessly switching between computer, phone, TV, tablets, laptops, you name it, always gaming at high performance, high FPS, even up to 4K 60 FPS. Now, obviously, you will need a very, very good internet connection, and the input lag and latency might be a cause for concern, but they have gotten it to the point where it actually is playable. And by playable, I mean it will always be more than playing on your physical console or PC, but it will be good enough that you won't be noticing it too much and you won't be bothered too much by it, considering the ease of use and ease of access of this. You won't need to download or update your games. Obviously, you still need to buy the games that you want to play, naturally. It's not just free included in the subscription. You can instantly stream to YouTube at the same time as you are playing, for example. So if you are a content creator in the gaming field, this is interesting for that. And yeah, like I said, it is interesting to see where this will go. This is something that we have watched from other uh, startups trying to make this a thing. Some of them with some success, others with less success. So it's nice to see it come in a serious, more, let's say, with more infrastructure behind it. Because as much as we might want more competition for the big giants of the tech industry like Google and Nvidia and Intel, in an effort to kind of decentralize the power that they own in the field and the stranglehold that they have on, for example, pricing, um, it cannot be denied that their infrastructure and their quality of service is there. So this is a good thing. Although I do hope that there will be competition for them in the future, for the reasons I have mentioned before, for improvement of service, for improvement of features, and also for the pricing. And now I'm not sure what the pricing will be on this. It's not really announced here yet, but we'll see where this goes. And this is definitely something that is worth keeping an eye on. I've actually found information about the pricing. The pricing will be something around. It's a UK-based site that I found it on, but it's listing a price around £26.95 a month. That equates to, I believe the pound is a bit more expensive than euro and dollar, so it should be around the 30 something euros or dollars per month. It's probably going to be 29.99, considering that's the pricing system that they usually do. It's supposed to be available in the UK, US, Canada, and Western Europe at some point in 2019, so still this year. There's no information about specific dates or other territories, but it's probably going to be worldwide anytime soon. And the specs that you have on your virtual um, comparing it to as if you had an actual PC or console at you. Now this is comparing it with a PC. It's comparable to if you had GTX 1080 with 12 gigabytes of RAM, and you can get up to 4K at 60 FPS here. Now I never had that setup, and don't quote me on this, but I don't think that actually, if you had a PC with 1080 with 12 gigabytes of RAM, I don't think you would be playing at 4K 60 FPS. I could be wrong on that, so like I said, don't quote me. But in any case, obviously this is the equivalent of it, so there might be other optimizations behind the scenes that enable you to reach these values with, you know, I'm not sure how they arrive at this comparison, so don't quote me on that. In any case, that is what you can expect in terms of pricing and when it will be available for Google Stadia. It's definitely something to keep an eye on, especially if you're a gamer but you don't have the money to build a super high-end gaming PC and own multiple consoles. This is a very good thing, and it is a very good concept for the future. Although personally, I will still be sticking to having my own hardware on use as opposed to a service like this. There's just something more interesting about having your own PC and tweaking it and playing with it as opposed to just a streaming service. Although I do admire the convenience and I do expect them to have some very great success with this initiative. Next topic, still on the topic of gaming tech, NVIDIA has enabled this. I already touched this on the video that I did previously, so it's going to be a quick thing. NVIDIA has enabled ray tracing on the 10 series cards from the 1070 up. That means that is 1070 NTI, 1080 NTI, 1160, 1160 Ti, and those are basically it. And well, Titan RTX, Titan, whatever it was called anyway. So that is basically what I have to say. You should watch the other video for more detail. You will be able to play games with RTX on those cards, although you can expect pretty lousy performance. The 1660 Ti and 1660 might actually have some better performance than the 10 series, even the higher end 10 series, because they can use Int32 uh, processing, not only FT32 with the which is absent from the 10 series cars, so that might actually improve the ray tracing FPS a bit, but still, I would expect it to be worse than any of the RTX line cars because of the lack of the RT cores. So while it is nice, it's pretty much just to give you a taste of it so that hopefully you will want more and upgrade to a real RTX line card, as well as a bit of an answer to uh, a demo that has been coming out also recently of Vega 56 providing 30 FPS 4K resolution on a 4 minute long demo on ray tracing. So while that is a demo and those always go out nicer than actual real life performance, it does show that other cards from other manufacturers, even without RT cores and not being from NVIDIA, can also provide ray tracing. So this is their attempt to, you know, placate that. It also will enable developers that don't have expensive cards to develop games that have ray tracing without having to own one of those cards. They can just do their developing and their testing at low FPS or low resolutions, just scale it up to their actual end product for customers that do have those cards, and that should enable a bit more adoption of the RT technology in games that will all in turn benefit Nvidia for people wanting to buy more RTX cards that support those features. Still on the topic of RTX and their cards, Nvidia has announced that their Turing line of cards, that is the RTX line, has sold 45% more than the previous line in the first 8 weeks that it was launched. Now, in the first 8 weeks they sold 45% more, but there is no mention of the weeks thereafter, so I am not quite sure how it compares in general. What is to be said is that I personally expect it to, in general, be a bit worse compared to the previous generation because of the pricing. Now, that is valid mostly for the RTX line. When it comes to the 1660, 1660 Ti line, I do expect the sales to be quite good because they're budget cards with quite a good performance ratio. So there I expect them to actually be doing quite well. For the RTX line, I am not sure it is doing as amazingly as this stats lead us to believe, but I would need better numbers and more in-depth numbers to comment on that. Now, on the topic of Ryzen 3000, some motherboard manufacturers, namely Asus, MSI, and Biostar, have rolled out BIOS updates that support the Ryzen 3000 line, namely to their B450, X370, and X470 motherboards. This is in preparation for the next generation of Ryzen processors that will be coming out sometime this year. And yeah, as you can see, some motherboards already being made ready for that. That means that current motherboards have some compatibility with those, and so you might not even need to upgrade your motherboard if you are going to pick up one of those processors. Naturally, there will be a motherboard family coming out with them, with improved performance for those specific processors, but it will work just fine on some of the previous motherboards of these families that I just named, as you can see. Naturally, if you are going to be buying a motherboard from this family, and then buying directly one of the new Ryzen 3000 processors, you will need to have the board updated to the BIOS that supports them. You cannot just slap it on there and pray it will work, because it won't. You need to have a Ryzen second gen in there, update the BIOS, and then put the new processor in there. So keep that in mind. If you're buying from scratch new, you are probably better off just buying one of the new motherboards that will be coming out instead of buying one of this generation, unless you know someone that can borrow you a processor to update the BIOS. But that is a bit more convoluted, naturally. Some benchmarks have also surfaced lately. This time on the 1650 GTX card that is expected to come out sometime in the future, probably soon, and apparently it is supposed to perform similar to the 1050 Ti. Now, considering that the 1660 and the 1660 Ti are already quite reasonably priced and they perform quite a bit better than that, this card would have to be very, very cheap to be attractive. That might be the case. It might be like an extremely entry level card at like the sub 200 level, like I don't know, 180, $169 slash euros or something. We shall see. In any case, it would have to be extremely cheap to be worth it when comparing to the cards that are immediately after it on the product stack. That might be the case, and it might just be geared at people that absolutely cannot afford more than that price point. But we shall see. In terms of raw performance, I still think that the 1660 Ti is the sweet spot if you are on a relatively tight budget. If you're an extremely tight budget, obviously you have to make do. But if you are on a reasonable budget, 1660 Ti is the good point to be for 1080p 60 fps. It's just a sweet spot, and you don't need more than that for those resolutions. But I would stick to that and not less if you want a little bit of future proofing going on, so to speak. Now, a bit on the pure gaming side, a fan classic has just been announced to be getting a new revisit on a new title, Vampire the Bloodlines. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. If you remember that, it's a game from a few years back. It's a very, very nice game, a bit on the mysticism, occult side. Obviously, well, the name says it all. Um, it's getting Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 installment. It will be coming to the PC, and it will be featuring naturally RTX, DLSS, and all those goodies. There is no launch date announced or anything of the sort. And for further news, look at the official website that you probably find very easy with Uncle Google leading the way. So yeah, it is quite a good announcement. That was a very good game, and if the successor follows suit and provides the same quality, it's definitely something that I will be picking up and giving it a whirl. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Now, those have been the news for the week. I have not much more to add. Google Stadia is definitely the highlight of this week. It is a pretty big announcement from a pretty great tech mogul company. Uh, Whatever you want to call such a company. Language is difficult. I need to go eat something because it's lunchtime and I'm hungry and cannot think properly. In any case, that is definitely the highlight of the week. Keep your eyes peeled for that. It's supposed to be launching sometime this year, and although it is relatively pricey, considering it saves you the trouble and the investment of buying a PC, it lets you just play on the go, basically without any investment in hardware. So yeah, if it delivers on the quality and if the input lag and latency issues are not a thing, then it is definitely a very good news for the gaming field, especially for people that are not necessarily that into having their own setups. Now, this has been Ethic PC Guy with the news of the week. I will see you in the next video. Have fun, like, subscribe, share all the dingity doodlies, and I will see you next time.